All right, everyone, welcome back to Tennessee This Week. It is time now to hear from our panel of pundits. And joining us now, we have our healthcare analyst, Craig Griffith, WATE 6 on Your Side political contributor, Courtney Piper. And today we have Gary Lowe, the chairman of the Tennessee Conservative Union. Thank you all for coming in.
Thank you.
So let's just go ahead and start. We just heard from the Republican candidate for governor, Bill Lee. Craig, what did you think?
Well, I think he's going to appeal to the vast majority of voters here in Tennessee. He's a strong conservative, believes in small government and low tax rates. So I think that he probably right now would be the favorite going into the final stretch. So I think he'll continue to implement many of the same programs that were started under the Haslam administration. So I think we'll see a lot of continuation and then some new things like he mentioned, the vocational educational training.
Yeah, Courtney, we were talking about in the interview that it's been a nice campaign. Both Karl Dean and Bill Lee running relatively friendly campaigns out there. People having a hard time making a distinction on the issues. What do you think is the biggest thing dividing these two? Or separating them, excuse me.
Well, first, let me say that I've contributed to Karl Dean's campaign. He's the Democrat running for governor. But the biggest differences that I think are completely clear, two major ones that stand out is Bill Lee is pro-voucher, so that's taking money away from our public school systems and putting them into the private system, and there is no evidence to show that actually works. And the second one is Bill Lee is against Medicaid expansion, and Karl Dean is for Medicaid expansion. Those are the two big ones. The third one that kind of tends to pop up is Bill Lee is very much in favor of arming teachers to protect students in schools, and Karl Dean is not in favor of that. So despite the fact that there haven't been a lot of negative campaign ads either on the TV or coming into your mailbox, there are very remarkable differences between the two candidates.
Gary, let's talk about these candidates for a minute. The latest poll out of Vanderbilt showing, I believe, 11 points in favor of Lee in this campaign. Does that surprise you at all?
No, not at all. I think that Bill Lee has staked out his territory and what he will do as governor very well. And I really have to disagree with what you've said, Kristen, in that there are stark differences, some of which that Courtney has pointed out. Bill Lee got the Second Amendment NRA endorsement, as well as the National Federation of Independent Businesses have endorsed him. And he's really looked at how we may have a 20-year plan that would improve health care for our residents. And one of those would be telemedicine. That would lower the cost, which would improve services for especially those in the rural areas, and lower our premiums that we've seen skyrocket under the current system.
Yeah, there are differences. The average voter, though, unfortunately, sometimes only pays attention to those negative campaign ads that we've talked about so much out here before.
And the debates certainly were nice debates between the two of them. There wasn't any, I mean, there were certainly policy differences. There's no question about that. But again, I'll say political gravity is setting in here on this race. This overwhelmingly red state, and I think that that's going to carry the day for, in spite of the differences. Many of the things, the policy differences that Courtney talks about have been issues in Republican Democratic races in the state for the last 3 or 4 election cycles, and the Republican point of view has carried the day in those elections.
Let's go ahead and move on to a big thing happening here in Knoxville over the past week. Specifically, we've started seeing progress here. Knoxville taking steps to address the homeless camp that's right along Broadway under I-40. This is some footage of that camp from several weeks ago. Many people would tell you it has just been a mess down there. Seems to be getting worse and worse in terms of debris, in terms of the number of people. Well, despite cleanups in the past, this time the city is now planning to change everything, calling this a day space, which would be monitored each and every day, closed up at night, cleaned up apparently. They voted just recently on a security firm as well. They're talking about having some social services there on hand. Gary, let's start with you. Chances are you've seen under the I-40 bridge something most people would say had to be done. Do you think this is a good solution?
I think it's a step in the right direction. We were seeing the homeless camp there during the day grow and grow and grow. And it's worsened, it seems, since the state of Tennessee got out of the business of providing mental health care for our residents. And so that camp has grown to the point where some have compared it to Skid Row in Los Angeles, where we've seen some communicable diseases that could flourish, and we really don't want to see that here. Some of the services that these homeless folks need may now be better provided. With the $500,000 that Mayor Rogero has set aside for the homeless population, and then I know that you've reported a portion of that may be the $170,000 for security. So I think we'd be better off with clearing that out and providing other services. And you did report that the shelters have seen an increase in the occupancy.
That's right. And Courtney, what do you think of this strategy and the services that will be provided there?
It's certainly a step in the right direction, but I've been living in Knoxville for 20 years now, and I have never seen that part of Broadway be that congested in a camp-like style. So, you know, I'm really more interested in learning how it got to this point. What are we doing or not doing that's, you know, allowing some of our most vulnerable people in our most vulnerable communities not being cared for properly. So while I think the city of Knoxville is taking a good first step, it seems to me like there might be some other systemic issues that we really have to evaluate so that we are truly making sure that our most vulnerable populations are being cared for appropriately.
The safety center, again, small but on its feet, and has been talked about as a way to kind of help with some of the mental health services. Do you think that's making a dent at all?
Yeah, I don't know. The safety center has, as I understand it, is more for people that are committing crimes, and there might be some sort of underlying issue for why they're committing the crime. Most of our homeless folks, you know, I don't have the statistics. I can't tell you if they're carrying out crimes on a daily basis. But again, my understanding is that when folks need a place to stay or when they need some basic services, we have a responsibility as a community to provide for our most vulnerable. And clearly, we're not doing steps to take that. And it's not a city issue. I think it needs to bubble all the way up to the state.
Craig, I think a lot of people would agree that as a community we can do more and should do more, but who pays for it is always the big question.
Well, I must disclose that I'm a board member of the Volunteer Ministry Centers down there at 5th and Broadway, and that's what we do. We try to prevent and end homelessness. And, of course, the Volunteer Ministry Center is very active in this process because we've gotten a grant from the city to do some outreach, community social worker outreach, to try to get the people the help that they need. But it's a very difficult problem. I mean, Gary mentioned it, you know, the end of being able to get a lot of state mental health help, and there's a history of mental illness and things like that in the homeless population. So the one thing that I think we need to take a hard look at is not criminalizing the homeless. You know, they're probably wouldn't be in the situation if they had a choice where they are. And of course, I work with the homeless every week. I see the problems that they've gone through in terms of their families, and most of them want a job if they could get the skills that they needed. But in terms of who pays for it is, you know, as a community, we had to make that decision. Are we going to pay for it, or are we going to try to exile them to other places and move them to other cities
the
to get rid of the problem?
The city's been very vocal or very upfront about, you know, we're trying to move everyone into spaces and so they have a shelter and a roof over their head, but there are some people that don't want to go inside, and the city can't force them to go inside.
No, and the people down at Volunteer Ministry Center, there's one case I remember specifically. A woman was at the middle of the Gay Street Viaduct, and they would go out and try to do some outreach work with this woman. And every day over the course of several months, she'd get a couple of feet closer to the front door of Volunteer Ministry Center. It takes that type of work to get some of the individuals we're talking about help. And part of it, and getting back to what Courtney said about all of a sudden this camp came up. Well, there was a reason for that. These camps were hidden behind bushes and under overpasses, but then the city came along and cleared out those hidden camps, which was the thing to do. I mean, they were health hazards, and there was a lot of violence and crime going on. But what it did, it moved that hidden population out to where you could see it right now. So now I think we're taking the first steps and getting help for some of these individuals.
All right, and we appreciate everyone's perspective on that. We're going to move on, and still to come, everyone, Mayor Glenn Jacobs encountering a clash with members of Knox County Commission and the law director over a pension lawsuit. That's coming up next. Stay with us. You're watching Tennessee This Week on WATE 6 on your side.